Don't criticize what you don't understand. This is a quote by Bob Dylan. Many of you may have heard this. It is something that I did not take into account when I first heard the news of Bob Dylan winning the Nobel Peace Prize for Literature. First off, before I go into my policy and what I'm trying to persuade you guys of, I'm going to talk about who is Bob Dylan. Many of you may not know, many of you have probably heard his name, but don't know exactly who he is. Well, there he is. That's what he was born on May 24th, 1941. He's a singer-songwriter, as you can see. Most of his influence was in the 1960s, and it had to do with rebellion and promoting peace. And it talked a lot about why we were in war. At the time, it was the Vietnam War. His music talked about anti-communism in Europe, and it promoted a lot of rebellion and revolution against the norm at the time. In my speech, where I'm going to go, is first I'm going to talk about first impressions that I got and that I got from other readers and writers who wrote about him winning this award in literature, as he is a songwriter, not a writer of literature. I'm going to talk about also how music is literature and can be seen as another poetic form of that art. And then I'm also going to talk about an argument in the New York Times, as there are many arguments, against why he should not have won, because many reasons, one being that it takes away from authors and poets. And finally, I'm going to talk about how music and literature coincide to invoke action. First off, when I heard about this event, that he won the Nobel Peace Prize in Literature, I was confused. At the time, I didn't really know much about Bob Dylan. I knew he was a singer in my parents' time, or before my parents' time. And I knew he started a lot of rebellion in the 1960s. So other than that, I didn't know much. So I started doing research about why he won, and most of what I found was why he shouldn't have won. And so I wanted to dig deeper into this, and I found a lot of reason that I thought that he should have won. So I think they did make the right choice, and I am in disagreement with a lot of people that I've noticed so far in the music and the literature community. So this caused intrigue and sparked action for myself to then present about this and give the policy that Bob Dylan does deserve this, that music is in fact another form of literature, and you too should recognize this and listen to Bob Dylan. Music versus literature. So the backing for his win from the Swedish Academy, pretty much what they said was this, is for having created new poetic expressions within the Great American Song tradition. They said this is the reason why he won. And this in itself kind of explains how Dylan's music can relate back to poetry or literature. They don't outright say that, oh, he's a writer. They talk about that he is a songwriter, he is a singer, but through his songs, he writes poems as well. They have deeper meaning, you have to analyze the words, you have to find out what the actual meaning behind each song is. He did, however, write a book, Tarantula, in 1966. It did not do well at all. Critics did not like it. They said it was confusing, it was hard to read, it was just jumbled words trying to sound deep, but it did not work. So after that, Dylan kind of had an uprising, if you look back on his history of, so he started off strong with his music, he wrote this book, then right after that he got back on his train of writing lots of music, getting lots of approval, and lots of people following him into his civil rebellion in the 1960s. The words of poetry in song is something that I studied while reading this. And this song, from Blind Willie McTell, that's the song name, is something that I find a great example of how it is poetry in his songs. So if you read it, it goes, well, God is in his heaven, and we all want what's his, but power and greed and corruption seem to be all that there is. And so something you first notice when you read or hear this is that it is a poem. It's got an A-B rhyme scheme that we often hear when we're reading poetry. And so this is another part of proof that shows that literature and song, or lyrics, coincide in the same art form. I believe that Bob Dylan is unique in his ability to write lyrics. Not all singers and songwriters can write as well as he can, but I think his ability to bring poetry into song is something that's very unique to him and further shows his deserving of this award. Another great song that I wrote about and want to talk about is The Masters of War This song was very controversial at the time, as you can see here. It says, "You that build all the bombs, you that hide behind walls, you that hide behind desks, I just want you to know I can see through your masks." And I said there, it takes on what many authors dare to do, but they a lot of times fail. This is a very direct comment and jab at the big government for sending people to war, for sending them out to just fight while they're hiding behind their desks and just guiding the war, that he's questioning whether or not it's moral or right, or whether or not we should actually go to war. And this caused a lot of civil unrest. Many people went out to the streets and used these lyrics as protests to fight for love and peace and equality at the time. An argument against, this is from the New York Times, the author being Anna North. She talks about how Dylan is a great author, he is a great poet, but he is not a part of the literature community. She says that his win takes away from the literature community. She says that singer-songwriters already have their platform. Dylan has been recognized with many awards and Grammys, countless other awards for his music. And she says that while he is a great writer, he has great meaning behind his words, he does not necessarily deserve to get this award above another poet or writer or novelist. This article brought up some question about is music less than literature? And I found another article by Matthew Horton talking about Dylan's writing process, talking about the mastery of his lyrics and his poetic form that he had in his lyrics. He talks about how Dylan was interviewed about his Masters of War song, and Dylan talks about how much that changed the culture in the 1960s. And he says that if you were to write that today, you would take months, maybe years to write another song like that. But at the time, he immediately started working on another song. He was just pumping out songs left and right. He was writing every single day, writing out poetry. A lot of it wasn't even made into song. There are albums made by other bands that are his lyrics that you can find today. So he was very picky about what he publicized and made available to the public ear. The revolution. So part of what I decided kind of coincides literature and song and lyrics is if it inspires actions, it invokes a thought to do something about what is being said. And this is definitely the case in Bob Dylan's work. Most of what he talked about, as you can see in this picture, that is a lot because of what he said, what the Beatles said. A lot of music, a lot of musical community brought together this movement towards love and peace and anti-war in the 1960s. An article in The Atlantic talks about this time period and says that it was, Bob Dylan especially, was a major change in the culture then. Before then, no one questioned the government. You went to war. In World War II, people went to war because that's what they needed to do. That's what the government wanted them to do. But then it comes to Vietnam and other wars, people start questioning why they're going to war. And Dylan wants people to question why. Either talked about in the Masters of War, his song, which questions the people hiding behind desks who are just sending the soldiers out to war. And also what's talked about in this article is that he was the voice of the people at the time, because, like I said, people didn't really have this thought process until then, but they didn't know how to build it. And he was the one that did. He was like the author, the poet of their generation, to voice the concerns for the war, for not wanting communism to spread. It was a big problem at the time. People did not like what they saw in Russia or China or Vietnam. They did not want that coming over to the U.S. Another reason why I think that Bob Dylan deserves this award and why literature and music coincide in the same is both literature and music should cause you to think. A good book causes you to think. I mean, every book I'm sure we've read years that a professor assigns us causes us to think deeply about what we're reading. And this is another great article from The Atlantic as well that talks about how great literature and music causes you to think. So in conclusion, literature works hand in hand with lyrics. Bob Dylan is considered a great lyricist of his time, and he still is. Obviously, he was awarded this great award. And because of this, I think that music and literature should be seen as one and the same. They're often separated, but it crosses the barriers, his music especially and his sports. It invoked rebellion out of this love for literature, and in the end, I'd like to encourage you to listen to his music, and on December 10th is when he's going to receive his award, and I'd like to leave you with this quote. Take care of all your memories,